And, oops, a second, I didn't click my phone into presentation mode. For those of you who are not familiar with my use of technology, I'm not checking messages. This is my remote for the morning. So then I can pull over and see all my slides and move around and do all kinds of cool things. So I'm Jane Kise, if you haven't met me yet. And welcome to perhaps the most unusual presentation we've had for a while at a type conference. We've had type and body movement, but as my colleagues in this project, my partners in crime, keep saying, this is the first world-class approach to type and style. And just to show you how world-class it is. I had nothing to do with that. I added the type expertise to this project. And where it all started was probably 3 years ago, I think it was. This is Jill Chivers. Actually, when Dario said we were wearing masks today, I am in full costume today. I'm channeling my inner Jill Chivers. If you don't know Jill, she is a type expert out of Australia. And she is an ESFJ, and she never goes anywhere without at least some animal print somewhere. It might be a bracelet, it might be a belt, it might be a full suit jacket or dress or something, but
Isn't her
what?
car got leopard print? I think her car is a leopard print.
Oh yes, her car seats are leopard print. You will notice little bits of leopard print in some of the graphics and all as she comes to her type. So this is the only animal print I own. I was forced, no, I wasn't forced to buy it, but my daughter strongly encouraged me. She's an ENTJ, a great source of fashion advice, and I thought, well, for today I will wear this, and it will probably be the only piece I ever own of animal print, because I do feel like I'm in someone else's clothes whenever I put this on, and that's part of the essence of this project. So, at any rate, Jill and I were out for a day of op shopping, going to secondhand clothing stores in Australia, which is one of Jill's specialties, is being able to walk into an op shop and find that treasure for herself or for someone else. She's free with her fashion advice, thank goodness, because I need it. And we stopped for a coffee because it was a rainy, overcast, cool day, just warm enough to be outside. And Jill said, John, don't you think there's a connection between style and type? And I'll stop the Australian. And we started chatting about it. And you all know at a gut level that there is, right? Yeah. And I'm not going to, don't answer this question. Do not answer it. But which type is most likely to show up not wearing something that suits them? Okay? Again, don't answer. What type is most likely to look like they put on a uniform for the 19th time? There's a wonderful scene in an American show called Family Ties. Danny, the father, is definitely an organized, detail-oriented, introverted decision maker. I didn't name the letters, but you should be able to figure it out. And inside his shirts, it says whether it's a Monday shirt or a Tuesday shirt. And I was doing a math workshop one time, and I said, we can't use that as an example with students because we wouldn't want to stereotype someone that way. And one of the math teachers raised his hand and said, 2 girls stopped me in the hall and said I was wearing my Tuesday shirt on a Monday. So type will out. And that's where this started. And so Jill is a fabulously creative person, as you will see. And she actually has a hard time going to type events because what happens is people in the type community say, you're so creative, you must be an intuitive, you're mistyped. And of course, sensing types are fabulously creative, just in a different way. So you are going to get immersed today in the sensing style of creativity. I was the knowledge-based, not the creative one. And Jill, several years ago, this is one of her websites, Shop Your Own Wardrobe, she realized that she was bordering on shopaholicism and went on a year-long, moratorium. Did not buy a thing for a year and learned to have fun in her own closet and figure out for herself what psychologically was driving her to use shopping as a crutch, and developed a blog over it that garnered a great following, and also a program to help shopaholics stop the behaviors. And because of that, she was invited to be on the Where are my Australians? Is Today's show? What's the good it? Today Tonight?
Yeah, she's also on Good Morning Australia, I think, as well.
She's had over 100 media appearances. But on the very first one, where's Catherine? Catherine and I were at Jill's house when this episode premiered, and it's a major show. I don't know what the British equivalent would be, but this is, prime time television, millions of people watching. And if you know about television, you never know what they're going to do to you. And there was an episode on Shopaholicism, and they had Jill, they had a university professor who'd studied addiction to shopping, and then they had another shopaholic. And they made Jill the hero, thank goodness. We were holding her hands. The other shopaholic, they constantly showed her in light that made her hair look stringy. And, she talked about running up the credit card debt and all that, and, was just like in tears. And the professor they made look like, she was still holding the suffragette sign. I don't know how else, and they just stereotyped her as this, you know what I mean, starts with a B. And at any rate, just the, intellectual approach. And then they let Jill just shine. I mean, Jill's fun on camera anyway, but they actually went into Jill's wardrobe. They had her spread all her, did she have 11 print jackets? Or are there more than that? At least 11, so there was 3 or 4 in leopard skin and a couple zebra, the suit coat jackets. And, she got them all out, and the cameraman said something like, "Isn't this excessive?" And Jill goes, "Well, they're all different." They're not. And they had cute little things with their feet, so she just shined on it, and that led to the other appearances. So Jill has always had an interest in style. She's put several parts of my wardrobe together. I look to her for advice all the time. And one of the things Jill did was send me to Imogen Lamport, who's a well-known stylist in Australia, one of the top 10 bloggers on style in the world. She has style credentials like we build type credentials and coaching credentials. And she's using this project to go to the next level of expertise certification in the International Style Society, which, whatever the name of it, she prefers INTJ. She was skeptical about type until we got some of the interviews back and she saw how it fit with her clients. As an INTJ, guess who comes to her for style advice? Thinking women, yeah. And so it all made sense to her on who was showing up and what sort of advice they wanted. And so she'll actually go through Type Pro certification this month to become, she's learned so much on her own and now she wants to be official about it. So thanks to our online program that Angelina and Gareth developed, she'll be doing that. But Imogen is known for developing her own color system. And I forgot to pull mine out, but how many of you have ever had your colors done? Okay, did you go, I know Chris has a great system. Was it just the summer, winter, spring, autumn, or was it more in depth? More in depth? Because if it's just the 4, it's like disc. It's not the full thing. This is I have 2 things in here. One is my little travel, I'm intriguing. And Imogen came up with her own system because, of course, when an INTJ goes into research mode, they really go into research mode. And so, these are my best colors, or these are my colors. On the intriguing, she has 18 different color combinations that she came up with, all with different names. So not only that, but she actually substituted out some to make sure it was just for me. And then on the back of some, I have pink dots. And these pink dot colors, you notice I'm wearing some of them today, are the ones that if I'm going to buy an investment piece or do a presentation, and they're not all browns, I'm just at that end of the stack, or I'm doing presentations or something, these are the ones that I should pay more money for or make sure I'm presenting in, which, backed up using the leopard print today, even though it's not me. So that's one use. And as you age, your coloring changes. So last time I was down there, Imogen calmly and handed to Jill like the muted set of what Jill had been wearing her whole life. Just said, "Honey, it's time to just go down a bit." So I have pink dot colors. Jill has a double dot blue, and I don't have any double dot colors. I feel so deprived. Nothing that's just so stunning that's what you buy the $600 silk blouse in. Jill has 2 double dot colors. So, but then the other thing Imogen does is these are 2 color palettes that are sort of close together. And you can walk into a store and you're looking at the neutrals and you're not sure, like, is it right or wrong? These are my neutrals. Can you kind of see this? Mm-hmm. These are the neutrals of the palette I'm most likely to make a mistake with, and how different they are. So I can see whether something works with mine or with this one and know whether it's really the match for me.
It's great because you give you the mistake one.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it, because that often nails it. Oops, I need to get this, not this, or this isn't worth it. And you're never stuck in a rut. It's like type. She says, if 80% of your wardrobe is in your colors, then you can play with that one piece where you're just going, I want that sweatshirt, because, or the, what was the t-shirt I found this time? The National Sarcasm Society, like we needed your support. Okay, so Imogen is known as Inside Out Style, and she blogs almost every day, and where she comes up with yet another thing you want to know about style is just incredible. They're short little blogs. I follow her on Facebook, and she just keeps coming up with these gems of wisdom about, how do you layer for in early spring, or how do you make a big necklace work for you, or how do you make sure you can find stuff in your closet? I mean, it's an INTJ on steroids about introverted intuition and type. So my mission is to help you look and feel fabulous every single day. These are my partners in this. Someone said to me, Jane, isn't this a little trivial for you? And I said, how much money every year is wasted by women and men buying the wrong clothes? There's nothing trivial about this. And why does it connect to type? Because and this isn't about like what color to wear. That is a separate topic. Or what skirt is going to fit me best, an A-line, a broom skirt, or whatever. Body type and color and all are separate from our personalities, right? There are systems out there because Jill, this is not a project done lightly. It was part of why I'm bringing this to the type conference. We read all the competition. And there's this one woman, her book's called Dress Your Truth, and it's based on 4 personalities: herself, her daughter-in-law, and her mother, which is pretty much ENTJ, ISFJ, it's just this. And she assumes that your facial structure, your body type, your color is all driven off that. So you've got these 4 choices. How do you think that works? She is a marketer. She is making a mint. There's others that just go at, do you like classic dress? Do you like dramatic dress? And that's another feature. What we did in ours is say everybody interprets that differently. I have elements of classic in what I do, but it doesn't look like what an ESTJ does with classic, for example. So that's all done. I just brought the type extra piece. Okay? So, because this is me, in my natural habitat wearing my favorite clothes. The INFJ who would rather be, if you really want to treat me, invite me to do a type retreat someplace where I can train in my jeans or shorts. So, what the heck am I doing with the style project? Well, as I start blogging for it, I figure I'll blog about all the mistakes I've made and all the great advice I get and all of those things. But in truth, I do have the research background. I'm the one with the doctorate who knows how to do the research side of this, and we did this as a research project. Going back to this slide, I said to Jill, well, let's start with, like a survey. And we have good friends who have a sense of style who prefer ESTJ. One of them's in this room, Sue Blair. And we have good friends with INFP preferences that also have a good sense of style, especially Meredith Fuller over in Australia, who I don't remember if I've got pictures in. Yeah, I do have a picture of her. And so let's send it out to 3 that we know well that will answer us, and try a survey and see if we see some differences, because then we will know where to go. And if you want to do type research, I strongly recommend this approach. Taking a little sample before you go big, because it didn't work. Okay? So this was the survey in phase 1. We had the 2 test groups, and we had questions. It was just a survey. We sent them out to SurveyMonkey. Sue answered this. Sue has been at our beck and call at every moment along the way. Thank you, Sue. Reading things, telling us when we're being idiots, not practical enough. Jill's pretty good at that too. But I think you were truly interested, or you would have sold us to go away, right? Okay. So we just sent out a SurveyMonkey and had them answer things like, how do you know when you bought the wrong items? Rank the choices. Usually, and your options are things like someone has to tell me I bought the wrong choice. or I realize it's just hanging in my closet, never worn. It isn't comfortable, the tags are still attached, I feel like I'm in someone else's clothes. I may put it on, but I always end up taking it off and not wearing it. How do you know these things? When we looked at the survey results, it showed nothing. As a matter of fact, the INFPs, one of the INFPs said, I can't answer this. It's not unique enough to me, was sort of the tone of it all. So we threw that out the window because everything was other please explain. But we could see some of the differences and we knew it was there. So face, it showed nothing. No patterns whatsoever. Really, that's the nature of research, is to not be as simple as you thought it was going to be. So we turned to something called critical incident technique interviews. What Imogen and Jill have done with this is, like, I can't believe it. Every time I go out to our new website or see what's in Dropbox, I'm blown away by their creativity. But I want to emphasize that we really did ground this in, the kind of research that we've done on type in healthcare and type in spirituality and type in coaching. It's the same stuff that's underlying style types. So what is this? It's questions that elicit stories from people. So if you get enough content from people, you actually get behind what they actually did. When I used to do a lot of magazine interviewing, you knew when a person was telling the story in the way they told it over and over again. One of my colleagues had a little symbol for that, because you don't want that. You want them to get off the track. But she, pretend like she was putting a needle on an old vinyl record and just spin it and okay, we've got to break them out of this. So you're doing enough to get people away from what they say they do to what they actually do. And this was actually, I thought this was cool. It was developed in England during the Second World War to help train pilots and such during the war, to get them just away from what they say they do to what they actually do. And it focuses on narrative, and it captures respondents' thoughts, accounts of actions, feelings, words. Jill is a fabulous interviewer, and I'm a really fast typist, so it was a match made in heaven. We interviewed women from 4 different countries. I think we've got involvement from 7 countries. We were a little limited. We needed it in English, and probably English as a first language, just to make it easy to get all these nuances. And once again, to start with, we interviewed Sue as ESTJ and went to look at what she said and tested it out with a couple of other ESTJs. Rob's wife, Carly Toomey, was instrumental in that. And then the INFP, and testing it with a couple of INFPs to see what we were on target with. And this time we got results. We saw what we thought we would. And I'll tell a few stories off of this. But I just want to emphasize, these are some of the questions that Jill had at her fingertips. These were 90-minute interviews, and Jill knew exactly what information we were trying to fill in, as far as, what does style mean? How do you know when you've made mistakes? How do you actually shop? What sources do you trust? We had these big categories. What advice would you give to other women of your type to get up to speed on your stylish self faster than they might otherwise do? That's just a sample. This is what she had in front of her for a 90-minute interview. And Jill was shifting depending on what the stories were and where they went. And I just had to type, which is great for an introvert. So what happened during the interviews? Okay. Type will out. There were moments when, and this is all, when you're interviewing, you can't always show your expressions. So we would get off the phone or off of Zoom with whoever we were interviewing, and 9 times out of 10 just start laughing, or 15 times out of 16, because of what had happened that was so predictable by type. I wish I had time to share all the stories, but I'm going to tell a few of them. First of all, I want to show you that Jill asked for photos from all the interviewees that we were supposed to get in advance. And these are Jill. This is Jill in all her leopard skin glory. So we wanted pictures of their favorite outfits, their accessories, their shoes, whatever. And there's a whole, right, Sue? There's a whole list of instructions.
It's a really hard act to follow.
It's a pretty hard, but Sue did a really good job. This is Sue's photo shoot. I believe you got your son out of bed early one morning.
He was not at all happy.
Yeah. So we have Sue. Doesn't Sue look nice with the same sort of thing, showing all the examples and everything? So we had all this. Oh, this is Meredith. This is the INFP. So that can you believe this? How Meredith organized her things in these beautiful Sue, you did a nice job, but Meredith, just everything is can you see that at the back of the room? Is it magnificent or what?
You didn't tell me to organise the thing. You just told me
You did a lovely job. I mean, look at how you posed. And you don't have as many, one of the markers for ESTJ that we found was very few but very versatile accessories. Mm-hmm. So Sue just has this amazing watch and bracelet that she wears all the time, right? Whereas Meredith, has baskets full of things and has to rotate her clothes around the house because she never throws anything away because she's a counselor, but she also does a lot with theater, and something might always be useful again. Whereas Sue, no, that's rubbish, get it out. But here's all the instructions. So I just wanted this, the sensing, organization, and detail was evident. So we asked people for photos, and the ENFJ, come on. Why are we not clicking down? The ENFJ sent us 39 photos. She created we only asked for 6 or 7, but she was like, ooh, and I've got another one. And she actually created a special Dropbox folder to keep adding to so we could see all of her favorite outfits and everything else. So there's the ENFJ posed with Audrey Hepburn. The ISTP sent us 0 photos. Type will out. I had to stalk her on Facebook to find photos. And she's this is Marcy Siegel, fabulous ISTP trainer out of Canada, was our ISTP. She keynoted at the Toronto conference on creativity. She's great, but just no photos. It's like, no, too much bother. We had a hard time talking her into the interview. The ISTP walking away backing up from style, going, what do you want to know? What are you going to ask me? So then, what are we doing? Let me just take this down. Let's see why my phone is frozen. That would answer it. Okay. So let's see if it'll come back now. No? Oh, yeah, it did. Okay. When we sent the first report, it was about 7 pages of information to the ENFJ, she said, this is perfect, don't change a word. Susan, you may have changed some words, but this person was one of Jill's colleagues. She said, don't change a word. And dear Marcy, dear Marcy, email that spent 2.5 hours through page 6, is this what you wanted me? And she was like correcting and asking every little bit of grammar question and everything else. So that was interesting in itself. And whereas the ENFJ was sparkling during the whole interview, Marcy got a snarkiness to her as we were asking, because style is just not one of her things at all, even though she's very stylish in how she dresses. I will say too that one of the surprising stories. There was a moment at every interview, but when Marcy said that when she got married, she just offloaded the whole wedding dress decision to someone else. The ISTP saying, I have no idea, I'm going to let someone else dress me. Is there anyone else in here who would let somebody else just do the whole wedding dress bit? The guy, yeah. Guys, I know. I don't know why we're not working here. We'll come back and figure that out. So that was one set, ENFJ, ISTP. The other that I'll talk about today is ISTJ, ENFP. This is my lovely sister-in-law of 35 years, Ellen, the ISTJ. And she was very worried about doing the interview. Her career was as a interior designer, and being very accurate and careful about what would work in a room and all of that. And she doesn't think she has a creative bone in her body, even though she really, really does. Christmas at their house, she rotates the posters and the artwork. I get like a B+ at Christmas, and I got these 2 sisters-in-law that, it's over the top with matching everything. When we had a shower for one of my nieces at my house, a wedding shower. Do you do wedding showers? Mm-hmm. Okay. Ellen brought over 5 boxes of stuff a week in advance to decorate my house with. I was in charge of food. She was in charge of everything else. And that was because the decorations wouldn't fit in her car. There was another load that was coming on the day of the shower. So does that give you an idea of her creativity? So the day of the interview, we're on Zoom, and Ellen's not technically oriented. She scheduled the interview for the day her daughter, who's a doctoral student in feminist theory, it was home. And so Lauren set her up on the iPad. And we turn it on, and Ellen is sitting there, and she's got her iPad on the counter. There is absolutely nothing else on the counter but her typed notes to the questions that we had sent out in advance, and a glass of water. Okay? And Ellen is ready for the interview, and actually read us her responses, and Jill got her to add on and embellish a little bit, but Ellen was the epitome of preparedness. Ann Holm was here. Ann was our ENFP. Ann remembers the interview day well. You don't mind me telling tales out of school. Everything's free with what we've done together. So Ann's in her office. She was out of her chair at least 4 times in the first minute and a half of the interview. Once for the dogs. She was eating toast. She didn't have enough to eat. The blind light wasn't correct, so she got up to do that. And then she'd forgotten something, so she went to get that. And I think the doorbell rang. And, it just went on and on and on. So Ellen's got her typed notes. And when she got the review, she printed off the stuff to review. She dropped it in the bathtub. So what we got with Ann's, handwritten scribbles of what she agreed with and what she didn't was water laden. And sorry, she scanned it upside down. So, it goes over to Australia wet and upside down. So just that contrast between, still shot and action was wonderful. Some of the best moments during the interviews, there was this moment. Jill's the ESFJ and the ENFP, right? And Jill's asking, what do you do when there's a specific new item that you need for your wardrobe? How do you decide this? And Ann said, well, that's easy. I'm tall. The stores don't always have what I want, so generally I'll go online. Nordstrom's great. Everything's free return. And I'll order things in 2 or 3 sizes and anything that looks interesting and get it all shipped to the house. And Jill actually backed up from the camera and she said, what? And Ann said, well, what do you do? And Jill said, well, I might start with 10, and then I'm reading everything and on the phone to the store, checking on what the sizing actually is and the measurements across the, like the arm measurement and how big the print is and what the actual, if this is my size and this what it might be, because my goal is to go from 10 to 1 coming into my house, or perhaps 0 if it's just not the right thing. And Ann goes, no, I love the idea of possibilities marching through my doorway. And Jill just went, what? It was great. So just these differences. Think if you're shopping together. There were amazing differences just in who piled stuff into the cart to try everything on in the dressing room, and who's afraid almost to bring anything in. Like, it's the last resort to try something on. You don't even want to do it till you get there. So it was just a magnificent interview process. INFP and ESTJ also, just a few interview Oh, I know what I forgot on this one. So one of the questions we asked was, what's most important to you in how you dress? And the STs all had some measure of appropriateness in what they had. So Sue Blair talked about, and this goes for the ISTJ or ESTJ. I'll tell. Well, we'll wait till we get to your picture. My sister-in-law Ellen said that if she, let's do the other ones first. Makes more sense. Okay. So Meredith and Sue Blair, and Sue Blair said that if she got to an event and wasn't appropriately dressed, she would either turn around and go home and get dressed, ask the hostess for different clothing to wear, or apologize to everyone in the room for not wearing the right thing. Is that captured your feeling about it? My ISTJ sister-in-law said she would die if she was inappropriate. Does it get any more dramatic than I would die? She actually now think about the value an ISTJ has on being on time. Do we have any ISTJs in the room? What does it feel like when you're not on time? It's shocking. Okay, so Ellen said they were getting ready to go to church, and they were serving communion. Okay, so it would be very visible if they're not late. If they are late. And she realized she had not changed out of her black house slipper shoes into her church shoes. And she made my brother, the ENFP, turn around and go back home. And he's going, but we're going to be late. I don't care. I'm going to die if we walk into church and I've got these shoes on. So that visceral thing. We asked Ann, what do you do when you find out you're dressed inappropriately? And Anne said, it's a learning experience. I won't wear it again. Just this, we're playing with people's values when we're talking about clothing, and it is this essence of who we are. So you got Sue's story. Meredith said, if I don't have the right thing on, or if you spill soup on something, it's accident of the day. There's nothing you can do about it. If people are going to judge you for that, I don't have time for those kinds of people. So that same feeling. And what would you do if you spilled soup?
Well, yesterday I was really conscious that I had yogurt and I wanted to keep it covered all afternoon.
Oh, thank you. Type will out. Type will out. So, if I were coaching an ISTJ, it might be make sure you've got an extra jacket in, just to make sure you're not caught in that situation. Whereas, and make sure you actually record those learning experiences somewhere so it doesn't happen again. Not that Anne's ever inappropriate. Okay. So, any questions just about the interviews or anyone want to tell a story? Yeah.
Did you only interview people who you know had good sense of style? Was that one of the
Yes.
criteria? Yeah.
Yes. So we went looking for sort of the mature.
Angelina,
we had images. We didn't interview an INTJ or an INFJ or an ESFJ because we had ourselves. And that's when we played with what information was important. So don't feel left out. We did ask you to look at it. Okay, yeah.
I'm just wondering about, you said you interviewed more mature people, because I was thinking about stages of life, how I now behave towards my clothes is so different from when I had 4 small children running around, puking all over me, doing whatever. I had to have a very different attitude towards what I was wearing, why I was wearing it, the whole utility thing came in, which was totally not me.
So she's saying, are there stages of life things? Yes, because we are dressing for our roles. So definitely, I would still say that there are certain personality types, because like Jill pointed out that even if she's out painting in old clothes, her shorts and shirt were matched.
My sister does the same.
Yeah, so they might be old, but you will still match, whereas I will not notice what I have on. And it's just drag. Somebody's up at 5 a.m. again, and I pull on whatever closest. Or I don't know if that's true for you, but Jill would still be matched at 5 in the morning with a screaming child. That's just with some animal print somewhere.
I was going to say, I'm an ENFP preference, arts-based psychotherapist, mostly working with children, often very, very dysregulated children who will throw glitter and glue at me, and then I have to run straight into a social services meeting and try and be appropriate. And there was a hilarious moment one day where I went to speak to a parent of a child and had to talk about something incredibly serious. And I think she's an ST, and she sort of looked at me and she said, I'm totally taking forward everything you're saying, and I really hear you. And I also wanted to point out, you're aware you have an entire head of glitter.
Well, this is something that many of the types talked about. We asked specifically of the types that are least aware of fashion, like what is the catalyst for you becoming interested? And you'll see it on the charts. We're going to do like a gallery walk. I have a little bit more to tell about our process and what we learned in the digital age about doing this. But then I want to give you time to look at what we discovered about the strengths and challenges of each type so that you get this feel for what we really heard.
I have a question for you. Did you find any connection to when, for example, for intuitive types, when sensing clicked in their type development? Did that make a difference in their awareness of when all of a sudden realizing maybe style was something they needed to pay attention to? Or any other kind of pattern like that where through type development where there was an age where certain types that maybe I should take a look at what I wear and how I appear?
Often it was more an external event. For example, the ENTP, in this whole research project, only one person of at least 100 women, more than 100 women have seen the reports and commented on them, and only one said, this just isn't a valuable application of type. It happened to be an ENTP. I'll tell you, she's one of the worst dressed executives I've ever seen. So she's still totally unaware. The ENTP that we interviewed said she was only 24 and gave a presentation at a conference, and a gentleman that she valued came up to her and said, that was an excellent presentation, and I hope you will take this in the right way. You need to change how you're dressed because you're undermining your message. And she took that. I mean, ENTPs, would you take that to heart? I mean,
I definitely, I've had that feedback.
yeah, and did you do something about it?
Definitely.
Yeah. So she went and learned what worked for her. And actually, there were moments where I was backing up from the interview because, like, if she talked about, it is a costume and a statement for her, what she wears in corporate events. So, she takes a look at the event, figures out what will have the most impact if she's wearing it, and she goes to the extreme of, like, a week in advance, she takes the picture to her hairstylist and says, start thinking about what hairstyle will go with this outfit so that I match from top to toe. So there's this scheming element of, and then not all would go to this way, but she's a high-level consultant, and so this is part of her marketing, is wearing the right outfit. And I don't know if you've ever gone to that sort of extreme.
I mean, I also work with a lot of consultants, so I dress accordingly, which means I have uniforms. I consider them to be uniforms. Those shoes go with that suit that goes with either that blouse or that blouse, and I would never deviate from the uniform.
Okay. So that very keen awareness again of
It's
what
a whole
working.
wardrobe that's just for that particular.
A whole wardrobe that's just for the consulting, and it's all matched and paired and put together probably with some sort of principle that's letting you know what's right. Yeah. Okay. So type outs. Type will out. So Jill and Imogen didn't stop. Thinking about the digital age, they wanted to make sure that they had the right materials to deliver the information. So they got together and did, 65 different videos a few weeks ago. And I wanted to show you the one because there has been work on type and style, and it's often been a dichotomy approach. And that doesn't work. And so I just want to show you their little bit on extroverts, introverts, and color. Go to the large.
Hi, I'm Jill Chibbers, and I'm Imogen Lamport, and together with Jane Kise, we are 16 Style Types. Today we're going to talk to you about introversion, extroversion, and how much colour you wear. Can you pick an introvert or an extrovert when you walk into a room? What do you think, Jill?
Well, this is an assumption and a starting hypothesis that a lot of people who've looked at this relationship, this correlation between style and colour and personality have assumed, and not unreasonably, that if you walked into a room and no one was speaking, that you would be able to tell the extroverts because of the amount of colour that they're wearing, the amount of contrast that they would have. They would be more visible, they would stand out, they would be the peacocks in the room. And we thought this might be true. So in our research for 16 style types, we played around with that assumption, and we found out that it wasn't true.
Now, I know from my own personal experience, I'm an introvert, and I wear colour. And I wear quite a lot of it because what I've discovered is that when there is energy work to be done, so when I'm going out into a training environment or just having to interact with the world, rather than using what I consider my energy to be incredibly precious on having those interactions or even being seen. So sometimes as an introvert you can feel like you're just not seen, you're the wallflower, you disappear. By wearing brighter colours or more obvious colours, contrast, particularly the reds and the pinks, which are advancing colours, that it does the work for me, and I'm much more easily seen, and then therefore I can use my energy on what really matters to me, rather than just getting some attention.
Yes, and we have had extroverts in the study that we've done who say, I believe that the energy I'm bringing with me because of my personality type is enough. That if I were to add to that high contrasting colour combinations, brighter colours, in a whole piece, rather than just say a single red item, for example, it's going to overwhelm people. It's going to get in the way of communicating, particularly with a mixed audience, where I'm wanting to have some sort of connection with more than just one group of people. Now this can apply to any of the 8 extroverts, but we've specifically heard it from ENTJs, ENTPs, and ENFPs that have specifically said this. I'm a big enough personality in the room, add too much colour contrast, bright colours, and I'm just going to knock people out. There's just going to be no room left for anybody else.
And what's interesting is I found with my clients who are the ISTPs, INTJs, ISTJs, They love to use colour to give themselves some energy.
This is so interesting.
So it's one of those things that you can't just assume just because someone's wearing black that they're an introvert, or someone's wearing, colour that they're an extrovert. This is something, and this is one of just the small pieces that we've discovered in the research we've been doing over the last few years. That is within the 16 style types.
So check back in at 16styletypes.com to learn more about what we've discovered and what we're bringing into the world that combines style and type.
So can you see why they were comfortable filming 65 videos without me?
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, when I go back down in June, they want to have me in some of the films, and I'm like, you guys better coach me a whole lot because, not my strength. So, at any rate, they've been fabulous to partner with us. You'll see as we continue.
She just owns the animal print so beautifully.
Doesn't she?
She just, it's like,
Yeah, it's her.
it's so gorgeous.
But I don't get the animal print with jewellery.
I
It
do.
worked for me. It worked for me. I just,
Yeah. So,
Jane,
she just very well.
see, people accessing the site, do they need to start becoming aware of their full letter type code?
I'll
Just the
talk
way
to
they
you.
were
That's
talking?
one of the things we
Oh, okay.
did. So, a couple things about the digital considerations. One thing was the site had to have digital appeal. This is not a business site, and I'll show you what the website looks like. They did a major push to try and have this available for me to show at the conference here so that they could get some feedback. And it's not quite completely operational. There are coupons on every table for a conference pricing on being able to go out and access and get your style report. So, and it runs through 22nd April. It should all be operational by I think like Monday or Tuesday was my last email because Jill's been updating me regularly. There's nothing like having an ESFJ project manager. We know exactly where we are. But at any rate, is there a typo? Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, styletypes.com. Thank you. Yeah, I was printing Saturday and leaving Sunday. So at any rate, yes, you can share that through the 22nd of April if you've got a friend or someone else who wants to use that. It's not, we just are working on all that. So that was one. The other thing was having good infographics that not only had appeal, but that we could use in blog posts, put on Facebook, use on the site. And as we started working with them, we realized this is one of the major ways we're going to be helping people decide if they are the right type. And so this became a very intensive process. You're going to get a chance to see two of the sets of infographics for all the types and see what went on, and we'll talk about that in a second. I don't know why I've lost the bearing here. So we'll just move this up so I don't have to come walking around the desk and continue with things. So those are two of the digital considerations. Another big one is it needed to be accurate, because there's no point in getting people a style report if they're the wrong style. I mean, the differences are huge, for example, in what an INFP and an ISTP want from a stylist or how they approach shopping. So we needed to get them accurately assessed as well as the information, and yet everything had to have a friendly general tone. We weren't going to talk about the third function and differentiation and individuation and all of that, but it had to be. Didn't they do a nice job with extroversion and introversion in that whole bit? That's what we were aiming for. It had to be rich and use type jargon just wisely. So, for example, we do talk about the function pairs because when I did the analysis of all our data, the correlations were around the function pairs. That the STs, the SFs, the NFs, the NTs have the most in common around style, and actually it's the last three letters. And intuitively, you kind of know this, that ESTJ, ISTJ, for example, have a similar classic approach to how they dress. And that goes for all the pairings. And but we looked at everything. We thought it might be interaction styles. We thought it might be dominant function. We actually looked at all of them before we settled on the function pairs, and especially, so those are our 4 super styles. So when you learn about the super styles, and I'll show you this in the best fit process, we do actually talk about the function pairs, and it's about how you take in information and make decisions. We realized we didn't have enough time to come up with great names for those styles. When you look at the interaction styles and you heard here behind the scenes, that says it for it, right? And that's one of the reasons the interaction styles are so powerful. You know, we know what in charge, chart the course. They're great names. We didn't have time to nail it for the function pairs. I think we will eventually. As a matter of fact, maybe in Brisbane in October we'll do a brainstorm and see how close we can get, or maybe we'll have it by then. But that is really, it had to be consumer friendly, and yet anyone who knows type needed to be able to know what we had out there. We had to decide what would be free, and there's quite a bit that's free at the website. There's going to be a members only bit because Jill and Imogen want to make money off of this. I'm just tagging along and I get a cut, so this is really nice. And then there'll be a paid site because this is robust information. The reports are 30 pages. And then we thought, you know what, this is worthless again unless they have their best fit type. And we went round and round on how do we do this? How do we make sure people coming in get the right report? And we actually had lots of conversations with Rob about possibly doing type coach. And there's this, you know, Rob is corporate, as he should be, and we are not corporate, as you'll see on the website. And all of a sudden it occurred to Jill and me that, of course, type coach does dichotomies, and we're doing function pairs, so our best fit process needed to start in a totally different place. And so that's what happened. But just so you can see what we did, I mean, this is the opening page to the website. I hope you think it's as nice as I do. And actually, I can just, there is a huge visual appeal to it. Let me just, well, we'll get out to it in a second because we're going to do something else out there. So I get to change my mind, don't I? Okay. Then this is a sample of the infographics that came up. So there's 16 of these that get at the essence of a person's style. So for the ESTP, we talk about they're adept at improving and adopting in many areas of life and discovering treasures others miss. They take a systems approach to style, which then allows for the spontaneity they crave. They identify their personal style parameters and then work within them. So we've got this. And Jill did all of this, and she did it quickly because they decided we needed all this by this week. And this is where people go, well, Jill must be an intuitive because she's so creative. What she did was find this amazing infographic kit with all these elements. And all she had to do was learn how to pull the elements together to make exactly what she wanted. And she found out, like, you've got to spot the ESFJ because there's a little leopard skin roller bag on it. She could detail this down to that level. And what I want to say is every single infographic, Imogen, Jill, and I agreed on. And we had major discussions about the icons, the colorings, everything, trying to get it just right. Because we want people to get out to this and go, this is me, or no, this can't be me, especially in the best fit type process. So I call it creativity with the known. You get an idea, you vet it with someone, you find the supplies you need. An intuitive approach would be more creating something from nothing, creativity with the new, creating all these infographics from scratch, and that's not how Jill operates. Is there any lack of creativity in this? Absolutely not. It's just the sensing gift of creativity. So that's what there's actually two sets of infographics. The other, I don't have a real good picture of this, but these are from some of the blogging, so there's a whole different artistic look to how, this is Imogen's set. So they have the same information, but different graphics for different purposes. So it's pretty incredible for the visual bit of the digital age. And, this is some of the text that we developed. And Rob, I realized we stuck with the values off of Type Coach. I hope that's okay, because, when we switched the reports, we never thought about that. I realized it when I was putting this together. So the paragraph up at the front of every style types report does have some type information, but it is tailored towards style, and it's in a really friendly tone. So it talks about you're an ideas person who thrives on time alone to synthesize possibilities and plan to make them become reality. You seek a sweet spot, not wishing to draw undue attention to yourself through your clothing, but also not wanting to fade into the background or draw attention for the wrong reasons. So that's a statement around INFJ, and it's how I operate with how I present, how I do other things. It's not just style, but we're tailoring it that way and keeping it friendly. So that should make sense. And then, like, here's the example. It's rich with this wise use of type. We've got this whole blog on the super styles. What are they and what do they tell you? And this goes into the function pairs. So unless you're interested, you never have to go look at this. This is a blog that you can connect to as you're trying to learn more. But the information is there. And there's a lot of these. They've got, I don't know, there might be 30 blogs already on the site. I can't remember what their goal is before they officially launch, but it's pretty incredible. And then there's this whole idea of the free and members only. And if you know your personality type, you can go into the system and get your report for a fee without having to go through our best fit type process. And we decided it's going to cost the same either way because we don't want people who've taken a freebie on the internet going out and thinking they know their type. We know 50% are wrong at least, right? So if you click on the left, you actually have to answer some questions like, did you take an actual instrument and not a free quiz on the internet? Was it interpreted by someone who knew what they were doing? I can't remember what the 4 questions are, but it's that sort of thing. Okay, you did those things, click, you get your report. And then on the right, you get to go through our best fit process. And this was a late January brainstorm that we needed to do this ourselves. And Jill wrote all the scripts in like a 1-week period and sent them all to me for review on how this was going. And the way it works is through the function pairs. Because if we can get them to their super style, the chances of them having the right report is pretty big, right? I mean, they'll at least be, most of the information will apply, even if they're a letter off. They'll still feel like there's some value. So we're starting with the function pairs. When people go out, we want them to differentiate between them. And there are, let's just see what I put on here. So the function pairs is the first step. Then, because we know this is the next big chunk, they decide between J or P. And it's fairly easy to create a video, a script, and an infographic that helps people decide, say, between ISTP and ESTP. All you have to do is really emphasize how that I should find it. I won't right now, but you'll be able to read what we did in the little paragraphs is like the essence of what the difference is. So ESTJ and ISTJ, I can remember off the top of my head is, that the ESTJ talks about organizing the external world, and ISTJ talks about a quiet life with keeping all the details under control. So there's such, you can get at the essence, and hopefully people will recognize themselves. And if they can't, there's more information to click on and go find out and watch the videos and all that. And then it's ERI. And that's not that hard either. I just said it wrong in the other part. ESTP, ESTJ. Is it fairly easy to differentiate between those? I think so, because I'm married to one. But then, that's the second step, getting the J or P, and then the third step is ERI. And there's videos, there's readings, there's compare contrast with images, so we've kind of got it all hit. If you don't like what you find, if it doesn't ring true, you can go back as many times as you need to, find more information, do other things. So that is how that works. And what we're going to do is do some roaming. I'm just going to set up some stations, and we're going to take about, I think, 15, 20 minutes. I'll see when people are kind of done, and we'll come back. Because what I want is to hear your questions, your comments, your ahas, your what, buts, all those kinds of things. And I think the best way to do that is to just let you do what in a school we call it a poster walk, or a gallery walk, or stations. So around the room are paired up. On this side are all the introverted types. Thank you, Susan Nash, for taping these all up. Since I didn't know what room I was in, I didn't know how to set things up till 10:15. And then on this side are all the extroverted types. So you have their style essence page with the 4 icons and their style challenge page, so you can roam the gallery and see what we're saying about each type. Then I've also got the basics of our best fit process. So on this table, I'm going to put the 4 function pair infographics. So you can see how we're differentiating between ST, SF, NF, and NP. And these will get spread out as people are working with it. Then on this table, you'll get a taste for how we go between STJ and STP. I'll just put these here so you can take a look. And then over here, you'll see how we do the final one. Are you ESTP or ISTP? So you'll be able to, is there a cleaner table? Boy, yeah, we'll go back here. So you can take a look at what we did with this. And remember, this is just the icons. There's also the videos, the script, other things that are going on. Let's see. And then I did bring one report. So this is the style types report. And all I can say is, are these gorgeous or what? I mean, this is not a business report. This is a style report. And so you can get a look at the kind of information that we are providing. And I will stick this.
Pretty safe bet that no one here would do ISTP.
That's right.
This must be targeted primarily for women.
It is. We had men involved in the review process, and they agreed with everything. Is the one thing I'll say. But just that's not it. Put on your glasses and then you can spot it. Where'd it go? Hopefully I'm still signed in. Say this is the site as it is now, and I think it's pretty cool. Every time I go out, there's something new. Did they do a nice job? So there we go with how to find your style, and it's almost operational. And then you can click over to all the blogs that they've got. So you think about this whole idea of what does the digital age mean that other things don't.
Well, Jane, you remember you also interviewed some younger people also. So
That's right, if they had a sense of style. Oh, that was a good one. The ESFP, we said, how do you organize your closet? She picks up her laptop and goes into the closet and shows us. Anyone else think of doing that? But here's what all the blog posts look like. Just everything up there. From type information, what is psychological type like anyway, to all the other things. Why you'll never turn up to a party and find an INTJ wearing the same outfit as you. How does the INTP's innate striving for excellence impact their style? Does that sound more attractive to you, Catherine? Why the INFJ has such a unique style expression. Discover how form and function influence the ESTP style. So it's all, everything points back to the type, what will attract them.
This is a remarkable amount of work.
Isn't
Yes, you
it?
did, yeah.
I didn't do it.
Yeah.
This is I was the research person behind it. Like I say, it's an amazing treat every time I go out and see what they've done. So, again, take a look at what's on the posters. You've got our best fit type process going across the room. Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3. And then you can take a look at the report. And we'll come back together in about 15 minutes, and I'd love your comments, questions, and everything at that point. Gardening with matching spangles, and our neighbor being amazing. And the suitcase contrast between the ISTJ going on vacation with her ESFP friend's suitcase. The type will out. Other comments or questions? Since Jill and Imogen will watch this, can we give a round of applause for what they have done? We so often see shallow applications of type, and they have taken this to a real depth, haven't they? It's just
Yeah,
amazing.
at first glance, this could seem quite shallow, but there is a depth to it. Even just in this information, there's some depth in the precision of the language.
Yeah. So, any comments on our best fit type process? Obviously it's not tested yet. We've actually is Sarah in here? No. Sarah's one of our testers, and we've got other people lined up to just try it and see before it goes live if there's anything that's not working terribly well. But we can change it over time. Yeah.
I actually think it's really clever the way you've done the function pairs together, rather than saying
time. This is what sensing is, and this is what intuition is.
Mhm.
This is what thinking is, and because you've kind of got people confused right from the
Yeah, and that for this application, we don't. If they want to go get coached, executive coaching based on type, that executive coach is going to verify their type and take them deeper. We just want them to get the right style report, and that was the essence of it.
That's very well done. And then do EI and JB on the side.
Yeah, because then it's actually easy to differentiate between the types, isn't it? You can get at that little bit of to stereotype who sits still and who doesn't. But you can get at it. Yes.
I may say something stupid because I'm still pen and paper, but if I remember well, if you do the online ETI at some point of time, you may say this is not the best fit. Have you considered that? Okay, I will go to the function pairs, JNP, ENI, then I get my report. Have you considered the fact that someone could say, I don't recognize myself in the report, and I could be a kind of further going to the best fit?
They can go back. We're trying to help them go back before they get the report. And I don't know how Jill and Imogen are exactly protecting that, but there's a spot where there's a pretty decent description of the type, and you can, if it doesn't sound like you, check the other one again. If you want to start over, you can go back to phase 1 or phase 2. You can go wherever you want and try again. And again, there's videos, there's narrative, script, there's the icons to compare. So there's 3 ways to get the information to verify your type. So, David.
Am I right to understand that, well, as far as like color palettes and stuff, it's less about personality type, more about skin complexion?
Exactly.
And stuff? Okay, so my report isn't going to be like, go.
No, but it might tell you something like, you're better, and I'm making this up, you're better off reading a book about it versus you're going to want to go to an expert to get this. People of your type want to go get their style done, or they rely on this or that. Or people of your type tend to avoid this. This is why you might want to. So, yeah.
I think this is great and very, very helpful in everyday life to find the right things to wear. But for me, there's a little bell going off in my head, and going back to Sue's trickster function from yesterday. What about authenticity? What about us just being who we are? If really our type is reflected in what we wear, who's to say it's right or wrong, good or bad?
That is some types are more vulnerable than others to not wearing what they should wear. Like, we found that
Where did the should come from?
the sensing feelers the sensing feelers, only the ESFP said, I just wore what my friends wore and didn't realize it didn't work for me. This was a 5'11", is she?
Oh, you're talking about
Carly, no.
not Carly. Oh, can't believe it.
Paige. How tall is she?
But she's 5'11".
5'11", and she was wearing the same kinds of clothes that her mother wore and her friends wore, and they didn't work for her. But she just, the ESFP going along with her, we're going shopping at Gap, let's buy at Gap. She just did it. Or wearing what your mother wore, or going along with the office uniform, not realizing that you could change it up a little bit and look much better. So there are types that are vulnerable to that.
But what's the underlying assumption there about the should? Like, is it for them to be more fully expressed, for them to be accepted by their peers, fit into culture? What's the underlying assumption?
Our underlying assumption is that if you aren't wearing what's right for your body type, for your coloring, for what feels like you, just like I feel a little bit like I'm in costume today, you can't be your full self in other ways. And so we had, like, the INFPs were one of the most likely to say, style isn't important, I should be able to be myself. And then they realized, and this is what's in those pages on, are you style unaware, are you starting to come into it? It was the reasons people gave for not paying attention to style. And then the INFP realizes, for example, I am so environmentally conscious and wearing so few things that it's actually impacting the way I'm putting myself across. I've overemphasized one value to the neglect of another, and I've got to recalibrate. Now, how do I do that and still feel comfortable not having a whole stylish wardrobe? This is one example. So, it's the incongruence like in anything else. Or the ISTP who suddenly realizes they have no style, they aren't interested in it, and so they're going to have somebody else put together their capsule wardrobe. That's not what a lot of types do.
So is the idea that if you actually follow your style type. You'll feel more comfortable in yourself.
You'll feel you at the same time you're putting yourself across the way that feels authentic to you.
So it's not like it's not like manipulative dressing to overcome. It's actually authentic.
Unless that's what you want, as I demonstrated with the one.
Dressing.
I think that you're trying to create resonance between what you are inside and how you are projecting yourself. So, imagine me in black and white, walking into a room and my shoes are polished, and, rather than the person who would, fumble around with stuff on my desk, and you know what I mean? So it would feel, and very constricting too, because you'd have to think so much about how to be that thing you're wearing.
And the ENFJs talked about, I want to, whatever I have on is my immediate connection with people. So what I have can't be too overdressed, underdressed. If I'm working with clients from a lower socioeconomic status, I'm going to change what I dress compared to another group. And it's not manipulative. It's about how do I make that instant connection. My clothes can't get in the way. The INFP that we interviewed, she has a counseling wardrobe, an artistic friend wardrobe. I mean, she actually categorizes her life, and that's where she goes to get what she's going to wear for the day to be authentic.
So when I was much younger, and I didn't realize that ENFJ characters are as intense as they really are. I kept trying to sort of not admit that. I used to wear a lot more flowery kind of poofy. Of course, it was a different era too. A lot more poofy sort of things. And I had a very dear friend say to me, when you show up in a room, what you wear, it looks nice, except that it's not who you are. And she said, people get, you actually shock people with your intensity because it's incongruent with what you're wearing. And that was one of the most powerful things that anybody ever said to me about style. And I started really thinking about, well, why am I wearing those things? And it was my ESFJ sister, of course, who had convinced me those things look good on me. But they didn't match who I really am. And it's been a long series of changing that and really it's really owning your energy, I think.
Yeah. And ESFJs and ENTJs tend to be your best sources of fashion advice for very, very different reasons. But that's, just keep that in mind. If you don't have a friend of those types, you might want to go find one because they keep you from wasting money too. I was thinking, just like another difference, the ESTJs, they often do want a uniform. Jean Kumaro talked. She when she trained the certification program, which was 4 days long, she had a Monday outfit, a Tuesday outfit, a Wednesday outfit, a Thursday outfit in decreasing corporate dress because you don't need to look as impressive on the fourth day. And that just went into her suitcase every time she traveled to teach the MBTI certification. Susan Nash is going, okay. And one of the things Sue Blair said is, buying multiples is efficient and dangerous because you can start to be boring. And so Sue talked about learning to always put a twist on things. One of the ESTJs, when we asked for photos, sent photos of her favorite outfits, and we had to zoom in to see that they were different. She actually had on, because it looked so similar, which is great. She found something that worked, but so that the essence of why we do it, and then when we realized, you found out you were being too intense. Sue talked, you were frank about, I found out I was boring. But you're still going to want to be tailored and appropriate and all those things, but then the twist comes with, how many scarves do you own?
Oh, no, many. I've got bags of scarves under my bed.
Yeah, because that's one of the ways she does her twist. Her little twist to that, make it look different.
It was a big debate for me this morning, actually, as to whether I could actually be at this conference and present with a pair of jeans on. That's just, I was thinking, I could do the presentation. Is it okay? Is it
You have jeans on?
Yeah, I have got jeans on.
She's quite stylish.
So Sue is never.
So I did have a major thing in my mind as to, is this appropriate? Is this okay? And I decided that yes, it was. So I'm feeling very comfortable with you all.
Was that also
by the way-
presentation specific? Would you have worn jeans for the other presentation?
No, the other one was not getting jeans. Today.
So any other? We're kind of out of time. But are there any other comments or questions?
I'm eclectic. I don't get what you're talking about. I honestly don't get it. I think, what do I feel like today? And I'll go to the wardrobe and take that. And anyone who knows, this colour, I might wear an Indian outfit today, and tomorrow I'll wear a corporate dress, or this depends on what I feel like, and I'm going to the same place.
And I think a lot of that is
ISFP.
But you have a dramatic, like one of your favorite styles is the dramatic approach.
Yeah.
Thinking of like what you wore to Amino's wedding.
Yeah.
And so part of it is an ISFP with the dramatic is going to have that eclectic approach, thinking about things. But I have shopped with you, and you walk into a store, and if the color isn't there, you're out of there. So
Exactly.
there are those pieces, and you know the shapes that work for you. And you're in there touching and feeling and checking things out and knowing what it is. So I can see the patterns. Whereas another ISFP, like my sister-in-law ISFP, all her, and this was unique to the ISFPs, that they, it's kind of like they either care about their clothing or there's some other artistic area of their life. So their home is this gorgeous environment. And that's my sister-in-law. She was a social worker, so she has like 4 pair of pants and 5 shirts, and hasn't worn a dress. And I've known her for 40 years now. It's been a long time since she had a dress on. But the decor of her home, and she's a floral designer, and that's where all her stuff goes. And we saw that split only with ISFP. Yeah.
Can I just make one more build? I'm an NT, I'm the ENT.
Right.
I don't like the word should, I don't like the word ought to, I don't like the word must. The more you're telling me what I have to do, the less likely I am to take the advice. I don't know if that's in the report when it's sent in that language, but for me that wouldn't work. It switched me off totally. Whereas when I got advice about what I was not wearing that wasn't really fitting in, it was somebody who said to me, it was actually about a watch I wore, an old watch I had as a child that was very dear to me, and I was working in a corporate environment, and the person said, that watch, it's just not credible, and if you haven't credibility, you're not going to be able to build trust. And I went out straight away and bought a new watch. If this is going to get in the way of building trusted relationships, the watch is gone.
And the
It's
advice
still dear to me, I can put it away somewhere else, I can wear it in my spare time, but if it's going to get in the way, and that for me just was the rationale that helped me to take the advice immediately. And I don't know if there's a wording difference between the types.
There is, but also all the reports, it's about what worked for other people like you. So you're going to get a thing like INFJs usually make up their own style rules. It's not about you can't wear white after Labor Day. It's stuff we found by making mistakes. And so another INFJ, hopefully we read that and go, wow, have I thought about what my own things are? ENTPs we talk about, often they don't care until they realize it's affecting their credibility, and then they look for the advice. This is where other ENTPs have how they've done it, and so hopefully you go, that doesn't work, this does, and find it that way.
So it's not prescriptive, it's descriptive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There are some, just like the Type Coach report has 7 ways to find balance. We've got like 7 tips that really bring home the style for this type. And it would be things like I was talking to Marky about the ENFJ. The mirror is their friend. They're usually 95% there. And you said you even do this with clients. Sit down in front of a mirror and see if it's working. Turn around and look at the back, because ENFJs are dominant feelers, not dominant sensing types, and they can miss little things like, well, that really doesn't look good on certain challenge areas, is what we call them. Challenge areas. And whereas the ESFJ automatically, and the ESTPs in the dressing room, they're going like this and checking it out. Now, the ESFJ doesn't care if it feels good as long as it looks right? But they've got to have that piece. So we can continue this at lunch, and thank you so much for your time.